flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
March 10th at 8:30.
Morning.
Any changes to the agenda? I'll comment, just a reminder, Steve's gone next week.
Well, I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
March 10th.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? If none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Agenda approved. Okay, let's look at the minutes. I've looked at them, they look fine to me.
I looked at both the minutes and the claims, so moved.
And I will second.
Okay. All, any more discussion on the claims also? Okay, all in favor? Say
Aye.
aye. Aye. Opposed? Minutes approved. Okay,
And the claims.
and the claims, thank you. All right, County Attorney Mark. Looks like you got a couple things for us.
Well, I don't have much for you. Steve's is the first. Russ Kephart, you came and talked to me about it.
Correct. I'd gotten a few phone calls and I wanted to find out what our, if we have any recourse, would be.
I'm going to give you about 3 answers, okay? Number one, there's a huge difference between a mess and a nuisance. Just because you don't like the way something looks doesn't necessarily make it a nuisance. That's the first thing, okay? The second thing, if you in fact think it is a nuisance, and I have my doubts now based upon the pictures Mark sent me, it's a mess. But there's 200 farms out in the country that have a bigger mess than what this is. I don't know if it constitutes a nuisance or not. I don't know. The judge tells us that, or you guys tell us that. The reality is, how much money does the supervisors want to keep throwing at this? Because you've got $20-some thousand in it right now, okay? That if it doesn't get paid, the county is just on the hook for it, which it won't get paid, then it'll go to tax sale. But right now, if it goes on tax sale in June of this year, then you're looking at approximately 19 months before you can do anything about it. So this is going to go on for at least another 2 years. Does the county want to be spending $20,000 a year? And granted, it's not going to be that much because the biggest mess is gone, but does the county want to keep spending $2,000 to $3,000 to $4,000 every 6 months to clean up the place? Because as soon as you clean it up, it's going to fill up again. I'm not saying you should, I'm not saying you shouldn't, I'm just saying, you know, you look at the realities of.
I suspect right now we really can't do anything because unless he's got, like before, you know, you can only have so many tires, and there are some actual rules on refrigerators and stuff because of the Freon and whatever in them. And I didn't, at least I didn't notice anything like that in the pictures.
I noticed a mess.
A mess.
Which is going to become a nuisance eventually.
Yeah, probably.
About 19 months from now.
Oh, it won't take that long.
No.
It's filling up pretty fast.
Steve, oh, okay, just a second, Betty. Steve, you talk with Russ, and rumor is that he has bought a place in the country. If it's a country road that people aren't going to be complaining like his neighbors in New Haven, maybe you can encourage him to make use out of that more.
Russell and I haven't spoke since before his first mess was cleaned up.
Oh,
So.
okay.
Anyways, and no one knows for sure what he's acquired, if anything. Did he buy or is he ready? We don't know. So
Yeah.
I guess we're just up in the air as to just kind of
It looks like we have one public comment, Betty.
Well, I was just gonna say, on Sunday morning at church, when I went to church, there was just a trailer and a pickup with appliances, and I said something to Dennis yesterday, and he said, what are you talking about? He says, there's a couple of cars, there's a whole lot of junk in the yard, it all happened Sunday afternoon, because he didn't go out last night.
And it'll.
So he moved in a lot of stuff rather quickly.
Mark, do you have any comments on this?
No, other than, it does seem to, a lot of it transpired just over the last couple of days. There's 2 school buses and a camper type vehicle that are full of garbage inside them. Whether this is just something that's happened here all at once, and that's the end of it, or whether this is, how much he's gonna be bringing in every week, then it won't take that long to constitute a nuisance, but, anyway, he did have one bus that was stuck, I heard, out front. I don't know if anybody drove by there today.
I heard one is sunk in.
Yeah, and it was really close to the road. I didn't know if the sheriff wanted to send somebody to see if it looks like it's illegally parked in front of his place or not.
we'll certainly check on it.
Okay, that's about all I got, other than I've been getting a rash of phone calls.
Does he have a valid license? He does now.
Well, I'm sure that this is just the beginning of, it's gonna fill up again, but my reasoning for getting in touch with Mark Friday morning was to find out exactly what we can do.
I mean, you can send a letter now saying we think it's a nuisance.
It won't do any good.
No, and then you guys are gonna have to go out there and clean it up. Because once you start the process, in for a penny, in for a pound.
Yeah, well, and I indicated that to one of the phone calls, is that we'd have to start all over again and go through the whole rigmarole.
Well, we get, the problem, not the problem is, the scenario is last time we just kept giving him more time and more time and more time. We can move relatively quickly, which means in a couple months, we could be out there
Right,
cleaning it up.
He'll just fill it up right behind us again.
Yes.
So maybe we ought to just hold out as long as we can while the phones are ringing.
That's
Because
your-
technically it is a mess, not a nuisance.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying, to me, it looks like a mess.
No, I don't think it is a nuisance yet.
Yeah, I don't think it's become a nuisance yet.
But it will.
It will.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt about that.
The phone's gonna ring.
That's why, it's just wishful thinking, I guess, that he would move it out in the country where he isn't bothering anybody, and that he could go to his heart's content.
And maybe this is part of his grand scheme, I don't know. But we're going to have to put up with this for basically 2 more years, and then we'll get it resolved then. But we'll have to go through the process.
Do you have any comments, Stan, or is it kind of our consensus here?
I guess I'd like to ask Mrs. McCarthy, I realize you'd be speaking for yourself, not for the church there, but how important would you think it is for the church to actually, is that a major problem? I mean, is it, can they live with it a couple of years, or what's?
I only hear from the parishioners that live there, it's the people that live around there and the animals that they've seen, and so, that's mainly, and of course, it's a very unsightly mess, and it's not fenced in. Of course, when it was fenced in, it was falling in, and that roof of the Quonset is falling in, so it's just a matter of time, I think, before that's, so, no, I don't know, it's just, I think he probably has.
So in
needs some
other
help.
words, you really feel it's unsightly, but it can be lived with for a couple of years?
Well, every time I go to church, when there were neighbors that asked me if I knew what was going on, because I think they knew that I'd come here time after, sometimes, and I'll say, well, I don't know, So, anyway, it's a problem.
Our hands are tied for 2 years,
I
and the
know.
more we spend in it,
I
the
know.
more we'll have in it.
Yeah.
And if we can just
Well, the other side of it is if we allow this one, then how many more start, or maybe no more start, and where do you?
We have a legal process to follow, and we're
I
doing it.
understand that, but I'm just saying that when it gets to be a nuisance, whether, do you allow the next nuisance and the next one then, or do you, I don't know.
Or do we
I'm
want to
just-
stay with the consensus for now, or do you want to make a motion?
Well, it's apparently not a nuisance now, so no, we really have nothing to do right now yet.
Okay, let's move on then. It's a shame, but it's the way it is.
The next thing I put on there is really Rich's,
Yeah.
but I put it under mine just so it could get discussed while I was still here. So,
Well, we sent the letter to the wind tower people and gave them an estimate of what we thought it was gonna cost to repair the roads from the project. They have accepted that dollar amount, no questions asked. Because the board signed a contract, the road use agreement. This gets signed, I believe they feel they're off the hook for anything from here on out. So it's a matter of, you guys wanna accept this dollar amount, they'll send a check.
And that was for the
$746,000 and change, yep.
and 150.
And you're happy with that amount? Satisfied?
We don't know what it's gonna
As-
cost,
as
these are
close as you
estimates.
can get.
We're accepting a dollar amount based on an estimate, but I guess, you know, with the volume that's there, you know, if we get a contractor to come in, if we decide to fix everything, maybe we'll get a discount on the volume of patching versus, you know, when we do smaller patches and things like that, it's more expensive. So I guess it's just it's what I think it's gonna cost us to do it, right or wrong. I've added some fluff to it and everything else, so. It's what we're gonna get.
And it is, the amount is 749,000?
No.
46,
150.
150.
746, 150? Well, I make a motion to accept that amount of 746,000, whatever, 150.
Second?
Okay, Lowell, do you think this is one we need a roll call at all?
so
Okay, all right. Any more discussion on that? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. And Rich, do you have some more stuff for us?
Not pertaining to this.
anything else for me?
I don't think so.
Oh, CUSB Bank,
Oh,
did you talk to them about the new financing?
yes.
Well, the CUSB, you mean Home Trust.
It was Home Trust.
It was Home Trust?
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
Two of them you were gonna refinance.
Right.
Two
Just
of them
straight
we-
out refinance, and one was gonna be a new loan.
And last Tuesday afternoon, I got a email from Home Trust explaining that they would drop to 2.7. And of course, we had asked for 2.5, but they, CUSB, their original notes were at 3.85. And Home Trust was at 4.45, and so really Home Trust was giving up, even though it's a little more, they were giving up additionally more interest.
Maybe we should just go to number 7 and just finish it out.
In any event, I would sure recommend that we approve the 2.7, and
So-
it's just a drop of the interest. We're not refinancing, it's just dropping.
Just for my clarification, there's no new loans.
That is correct.
Okay,
That would be correct if we approve of it.
all right.
Okay, do you want to do that one right now while he's here or not? Does it matter?
Doesn't matter,
I don't think
As long
anybody
as
from the
it's-
public's gonna be here to.
As long as it's not new money,
No.
then there's no public notice requirement or anything. It's just a refinance.
Yeah, that would be just a refinance, and as soon as Supervisor Francis has a copy of the minutes, she can go to Home Trust and sign the agreement, and we'll be set.
Okay,
Okay, well then we'll let Rich continue.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Mark.
Not a lot. Since that Turtle Creek thing is done, that was kind of the big thing on the agenda. I didn't know if we could get that done. Thankful for getting it on the agenda. We can get that sent back to them once it's signed. Mark, did you want me to send that letter back to them?
Mark's got it and is signing it. She can get it to you and then you
Yeah.
can send it back.
Okay, that'll be fine. I know the guys are out blading when they can. The way the weather's been, it's been kind of nice. We haven't had a lot of rain to mess the roads up, so they're doing
Roads
what they
look
can.
good where they get.
Yep, so they're gonna continue that. Right now, they should be getting out of the safety meeting here, so, anyway, that's where we're at in secondary roads. We did have an accident last week. We've addressed it. We're gonna order some new safety equipment, make sure everybody's got something. That way they can't make there aren't any excuses for not having something there. I think everybody has something, but we're gonna get everything new that way. It's all
Yeah, the
compliant.
helmets have a time life on them.
Well, OSHA doesn't recognize an expiration date on hard hats. Some manufacturers do, so it's when you start, it's kind of a judgment call when you look at a hard hat. If it's looking like it's, the paint's dry and flaky, or if it's got a crack in it, obviously you wouldn't want to use it then. But we get everything new this time around, we know everything's compliant, and we're gonna go from there and address that, so.
Well, again, and I realize the guy doesn't have to make a big issue of it, but do try to, when these things happen, to let us know.
Yeah,
Because
and I
when
usually do, and I don't know, I think it was because I came from Worth County and then came back, and I guess it
When
just,
we hear about it from the public
Yep.
and we don't know anything.
I
it
understand,
makes us
and
look.
I think this is probably one of the times I haven't told you guys anything, and I apologize for that.
That's true, I was surprised that.
Usually I'm right on top of that, letting you guys know right away, so it just, I
Well,
don't
tell
know.
Melissa, she'll help remind you.
Yeah, right, so,
yeah,
but we
'cause-
did contact everybody.
Yeah, that was
Yep,
my
that
main
we-
concern.
Everybody was,
I wanted to make sure he was okay,
yep,
but also that Heartland had insurance.
yep,
had been-
they were all contacted, and
Yeah,
it turned out to be, it worked out, I guess.
and
so.
he's still doing okay.
Yeah, he's doing fine, yeah.
Good,
He's back to work.
He's back to work, yeah. So,
good,
but yeah, that was, could have been a lot worse,
yeah.
Yeah,
so.
them widow makers are out there.
Well, yeah, there's some things to address with that, and actually the safety guy came this morning, they're having their safety training. I said, hit this topic, it's not on your agenda, but hit it anyway.
Oh, yeah, perfect timing.
So, we'll have to do some things here. I know I'm working in Worth County on some safety stuff too, that maybe polish up some policies a little bit and see what we got going on, so. I'll be going to Mason City after this meeting to meet with consultants on some road work, and I want to see where the progress is on design, so that'll be Kirkwood north of the Statesville Road and then south of Porterville, that half-mile stretch, so. They wanted a meeting, get some cross-section stuff figured out, so we can have that stuff ready to go for letting next year. Any other questions?
Yeah, one little part, I'm not sure what they want right here.
That's, okay. I think they just want your signature.
Okay.
So,
Which is the same
Yep.
as my other. Okay.
thank you.
Mhm.
Anything else?
That should do it, Rich.
Okay,
Oh,
Nothing. So
thank you.
Have a good day,
Thanks.
rest of the day.
okay, now, do you guys have some information on the construction permit application? Oh, wait, we skipped the sheriff.
Well, he's busy right now.
Okay,
He's-
we'll come back to him. Do you guys have anything on this matrix scoring of the new construction permit application? Do you know anything about it? I know that's you guys' committee.
I got an email from the DNR explaining that they had a concern, if I'm not mistaken, on the location of the building, and it's been renegotiated, and points were reset, and so the DNR right now is, according to what I understood, is happy with what is being presented. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So when we did the original, I'm Jennifer Crawlin with Iowa Select Farms, this is Carl Ott.
Guys gotta talk up, I'm getting deaf, so.
Is this for the DAF farms, right?
It's for DAF Farms, yep.
Okay.
So Carl Ott is on our nutrient management team. He completed the application. I'm Jennifer Crawl. I did on Public Affairs for Iowa Select. I did the neighbor visits on the farm. Daryl Hunt is another member of our team that is not able to be here today. He had another commitment that was working with Mr. Newton on the farm. When we did the original siting of the farm, there was more snow on the ground than there is now. And so as we came up to do neighbor visits, we saw that there is a tile line running with an outlet that may possibly be construed as a water source. So in an abundance of caution and to make sure that we met everything in that matrix, we went ahead and moved the building 250 feet to the north and reallocated points so we would still maintain enough points in the matrix to pass. And so that's the change that was made. The paperwork was resubmitted to the DNR and maps were updated, and Carl went ahead and did that last week real quick. So. We did conduct neighbor visits of almost everyone within a mile. Mr. Newton had spoken to his neighbor to the north, so we did not stop at their home because he'd already visited with them about the project.
Okay, well, I'm glad you noticed that tile.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
So
that was
we
probably
don't
right
have
by that
issues.
little box.
Yep, it was a culvert that went under the road, so there was nothing on the west side of the road, and maybe something to the east side of the road, so we had the flexibility of that spot in the field to move it, and so we went ahead and did that.
I see the stakes out there.
So we'll have to go out and resurvey it
Yeah.
with that move, which is unfortunate and inconvenient, but minor in the grand scheme of things.
So are you wanting us to actually approve this at this time, or just,
Is this
Are you
just a
informing us?
notification?
No, you have to approve it.
okay?
It has to be done by the 16th of March.
And this is being sent to the DNR in Des Moines, is that correct? I would make the motion that we forward this to the DNR with no negative comments.
And I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We've got that approved then. Okay, if you happen to have a business card, if you leave it for me, that'd be great. Okay, approve refinancing of the Conservation Department property loan. We discussed it last week, and I did go to CUSB, and they went from 3.875 down to 2.5. So that's taken care of, and everything's signed, the stuff is, forms are back to Lowell. And then we were talking a little bit earlier here about Home Trust, Stan, you said that they had gone down to 2.7. And I am very fine with that. I suggested last week, I hoped we could stay with them.
Do we have to make a motion to approve the 2.7 then?
Yes.
And I'll make that motion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay. Do we
And I
have a
will
s-
second that.
All right. Any more discussion on that? Yeah, I was very pleased with that outcome. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Considering iteration of the resolution.
Sheriff's back.
Oh, Sheriff's back. Okay, Sheriff, let's get you
Morning, I
going
won't
here.
take up much time, I don't have anything for you really.
Okay.
We booked in 5 since we met last time, I guess.
Now, since you were last here, you had some excitement a week and a half ago, one evening. You had to chase somebody and they
Yeah.
ended up in the Minnesota. How did that turn out in the end?
Yeah, so Minnesota authorities put down spike strips essentially, replace the tires, but then also use a pit maneuver, use one vehicle that essentially hits the back of the other and kind of spins it out. So anyway, they did that, they got him boxed in and got the gentleman in custody. He's got mental health issues,
Okay.
been through the system, mental health system in Minnesota. Truck driver by trade. They think maybe he was coming down here to go to work, get a semi and go to work, and something, set him off, or for some reason, he acted the way he did when Deputy Trees tried to stop him. So Minnesota, they charged him with some crimes that night, but maybe you're gonna back off on that.
And this one is a little bit unique. Damaris's, we're doing a project, a dual commercial residential project downtown St. Ansgar. They were in the process of putting an application, still are in the process of doing an application for a catalyst grant, the same grant that the Sportsman's received. They approached us utilizing our construction incentive as part of the process. And we, at the time, when we received the application, felt it would be advantageous for their application if we made our award contingent upon them getting the catalyst grant. It didn't really matter to us, but we thought it might help them if it was contingent on that. And so we offered them a letter of support for their application, agreeing to do the project. As it turned out, Mr. Damaris decided they needed to go ahead and move with the apartment renovation work prior to the catalyst grant, because the timing of it, catalyst grant can take up to 2 years. They needed to have it done. They had people wanting to rent. They thought that they had approval, full approval for the grant, and went ahead with the construction. So I'm asking for mercy. My board agreed that it was all right. It was one that met all of our criteria.
And technically, we had
And
approved it,
correct.
but not the legal way yet.
Right, and we never brought it to you. So, you know, technically it wasn't. So I am asking for mercy on their part. It was a misunderstanding between the two parties. I don't know how that confusion took place, but it did. So I am asking to go back and retroactively put the approval as of the date when our board approved.
Which building is that?
It's where he's putting the new gym, 2 doors down from Sportsman's.
And then
Oh,
isn't he
okay.
renting upstairs and?
The
Yeah,
one that Rosenberg only.
Correct, right.
Okay, that-
And they've done a really nice job of renovating and completely updating the apartments upstairs. It's gonna provide some nice,
Yeah, I'd love to see
nice
that.
apartments. So, I mean, it fit the purpose of the program. Definitely bringing an old building up to snuff. It's gonna be a good building for a long time. Going to a lot of effort to bring it up, getting a lot of safety issues. So, I mean, it's a good thing. It's just that they kinda got a little out of order, so.
Well-
Quite proper channels.
Just because of the whatever, I think you ought to do 2 different motions.
Okay, all right.
That's why I was asking.
We can do that. All right, let's talk about the first one that he talked about then. That would be for
Tim Schultz.
Schultz. The four
Do you have
apartments.
an amount?
The 4 apartments.
It'd
160,000
be
total project cost,
Or no,
600,000.
what is it that will be
Be
20 be?
25, so it'd be 200,000 total. Because he's got 25 for each apartment, each 4 apartments.
So you put that on the invoice?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Basically 8 apartments at 25 apiece.
all right, so we'll talk about that one first, if you guys.
So move.
Okay, I'll second that. And any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Including myself, aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, because the majority, it is approved. All right, that second one,
So
in
move.
St. Ansgar too. Second? I will second it. And any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion is carried.
I just want to give you an update on the latest round of the urban renewal district. We are waiting on a property number, ID number from Riceville for a possible commercial project to be added. So, but once we get that, we'll get that to Joe Mary, and he said he can then take the next step in getting that going. So, hope to have that today, and then we'll get that to him this afternoon.
Has the public all of the community's been aware that we are updating our urban renewal so that if they
Yes.
do,
Yes, yep. And we've been talking all year with everyone to try to come up with any new properties. And we have a short list of new properties.
do we have anything posted on our website that explains that we're going to be updating our urban renewal and that?
No, I don't think so.
Why don't we try to
Okay, I'll
get
work with
something
Tony.
here in the next day or two so that people understand that if they want to get their property on.
Would you be all right if I delay a week then to let Joe know?
Yeah, that'd be fine. 'Cause, I mean,
I'll work
you know,
with
it's
Tony.
expensive, it's about $3,000 or more to update. So if somebody missed a vote, why?
Right.
Yeah, Tony can help with the wording.
Try. So, okay, well, we will hold off a week then. I'll let Joe know that it'll be next week. I talked with him yesterday and told him I was waiting on one more.
That sounds
Okay,
good.
not a problem at all.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, meetings attended, I'll go ahead and start. I'm gonna quick add this in here. Concerning the coronavirus, I did call Chris Olson, or emailed him, I guess, just to see if he had anything in place, that at least talked about it with people, and he has already been in contact with like Laura of Home and Public Health, and then she actually sent me some information on it. And she asked that people go to their Facebook page and like it, because they update it quite often, and information like this is actually on it. And I know, really the basic things are, you know, wash your hands with soap and water for 20 seconds, use this hand sanitizer that it has at least 60% alcohol, avoid touching eyes, nose, mouth, avoid people that are sick, stay home if you are sick, and cover your mouth with your arm or tissue when coughing, and obviously disinfecting everything. So I mean, you know, it's kind of common sense. And then we had received an email from the state auditor asking if we had about that pie, and I'm like, I know, I was pretty sure we sent it in, that Dave Hardo did it for us. So I emailed the guy back and I said, I'm pretty sure you already have it, and he wrote back and he said, yes, we do have it, and he appreciated that we had it done. Apparently a lot of people didn't, and so I think he just sent out a mass email. So thanks to Dave, we're done. Okay, I had an economic development meeting. We have a $3,000 grant from FEMC that will be used for marketing. Kevin Colbert attended and he complimented Tony on giving a very good explanation of TIF. And Tony will do that for other groups, they just need to ask. And construction for approval of Tim Schultz's St. Ansgar 4 units that we talked about today that would rent out for lower prices. We discussed that. Tony and Tracy are working with the Progressives, with Tony on the housing and daycare committees and Tracy on the marketing committee. Tracy updated us on her start of revamping the website, which I think badly needed it, and bringing it up to date. It appeared like it's going to be very user-friendly. She's not done yet, but she's got a real good start on it. And it'll have the current jobs listed. And we also discussed a possibility of a forgivable loan for infrastructure, and I'll let Tony explain that in the future when that's a little farther along. We already talked about that I got the refinancing of the 2 conservation loans at COSB done. I wrote an article for the county newspapers on the importance of the census, and I contacted 4 Substance Abuse Coalition, Old Central Coffee and Limestone, concerning that they were expired for updating their tips training for their bartenders. And I think that's it.
I like that. Stay away from people that are sick. The unfortunate thing is you don't know they're sick until it's too late.
I know.
So, anyways, I had 2 conference calls with FMC DCAT, and the first one was a week ago, I think today, and we talked about Big Brothers Big Sisters contract, and there was no action because we really didn't have any direction from Big Brothers Big Sisters. There was no information from Yolanda, who is from Waterloo, the spokesperson for Big Brothers and Sisters. We have no service in Mitchell, Floyd, and Chickasaw counties because they closed the offices in Floyd, and they really never did anything for us in Mitchell County, period. Also discussed on that particular first meeting was that Charles City Schools has their own program that is similar in running. We also had potential transfer funds. There was no action on that because we had no idea what Big Brothers Big Sisters were going to do. So that was kind of tabled. So that meeting was kind of, we didn't accomplish much. We had another meeting yesterday at 2:30, and it was basically the same meeting. Big Brothers Big Sisters contract was brought up, and there was a lot of discussion on it. We've got $32,000 that we have to spend. You know, that's what's approved for Big Brothers and Sisters. And with them not doing any services, there is still, we're not getting anything from Yolanda down in Waterloo again. They're not telling us anything. So we can't pay them nothing unless they do something. So we've got this money sitting there, and we also have some other money sitting.
Too bad, it's a nice program.
We should have, you know, want to keep the program going.
And this was in Waterloo that?
That's what Big Brothers and Big Sisters, they're out of that Waterloo. But they service Chickasaw, Floyd, and Mitchell.
Okay, but which one are you said you're not hearing from Waterloo?
Yolanda is the person, spokesperson for Big Brother, Big Sister. Anyways, we discussed finding a new provider. And they even if they do provide for Floyd and Chickasaw, they won't provide for Mitchell County. And that's been actually being done here in Mitchell County by another organization and gets no funding from
maybe they want something
from
funding.
DCAT. Well, they're talking, it's Bridges Mentoring, and they're in discussion with them to find out, get more information. But anyways.
Because they're both great programs.
Correct. For 2020, it was supposed, Big Brothers Big Sisters was supposed to provide for 8 matches in Floyd, 6 matches in Mitchell County, and 6 in Chickasaw. And they're really talking about severing relations with Big Brothers and Big Sisters. So no action again on that one. We talked about potential transfer of funds. We had action on that. We've got $135,000 that we may revert back to the state. So what we did is we voted yesterday to take 100,000 of that. 40,000 of it was going to go to substance abuse, and 60,000 of it was going to go to Woodbury County. And that was going to go to Native American mental health. Anyways, rather than have that money go back, provide it to somebody that can use it. So we had action on it. And it was asked to them, rather than to revert it back to the state. This way, we at least use the money, and we'll look better to the state that we've used it, because if we don't use it, they'll think we don't need it, and we won't get it in the future. So anyways, we still need their support, and we still need to use the money locally, but rather than to have it reverted, that's what we did. Anyways, Betty?
Barb, do you remember the name Yolanda? I think she was at our Substance Abuse Coalition meetings. Maybe it was
Well, when he said the name, I'm trying to think, but I'm not sure.
before Shelley Smith. I think Yolanda
Oh.
had been there, so I think this is, you don't hear that name very often.
Yeah, that's why I caught
And when you talked about substance abuse, and I think she was here on the smoking thing, smoking cessation.
Maybe you're right.
And so I just wondered, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think it's the
Maybe.
same person is involved in that, yeah.
Might be.
okay, well, that was my meetings.
Last Tuesday, I had the Upper Cedar. We held our annual meeting to begin with, elected same officers, and then we went into our regular meeting. We had quite a presentation on basically biodigesters and what really is needed in order to make biodigesters work. And so that was about a half an hour presentation. And then the other one, the Iowa Flood Information System, if you go to their website, you can basically monitor what's happening on water levels throughout Iowa. In other words, what's the normal water level of the Cedar at, let's say, St. Ansgar? And if we get a 2-inch rain, what's going to be projected for the water level, depending on where the rain all fell and so on and so forth. It's quite a site. So that's the Iowa Flood Information System. And again, they had about a half an hour presentation on that one. Last Wednesday then, I attended the Progressive Group. There actually is 4 committees, and there was people from all 4 committees in attendance. There's a welcoming, retaining, recruiting community member group, and I won't get into the whole thing of it, but there's also marketing, events, and business partnership. I sit on the Housing and Daycare Committee, and there's also a recreation, conservation, and outdoor wellness. And what's interesting about these groups, it's more of the 25 to 40-year-olds that are involved. They really want to...
I know, it's so nice to see.
Well, they want to see things happening here in Mitchell County that, you know, they're making their home here. They want progress. They want to grow the area. And they are, like I say, they are involved. And so I think this is really a good group. It's been going on now for 2 years. It's been taking time to get the steps going, but the steps are fairly well in place.
And Stan, you said you're on the housing, and is it housing and daycare?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll update our committee list.
So, I mean, you know, the big, well, both of them, but daycare is one of the big concerns that, again, if we don't have daycare facilities for these younger people, they're not going to stay. I mean,
That's a problem throughout Iowa.
right. And so this is, like I say, one of the issues that that we can be working on and trying to come up with possible assistance, solutions, whatever you want to call it. So that was that committee. And then last night I had Council of Governments, and I think the last 2 meetings, Crystal Birch has been absent. I don't know why. In any event, we approved the personnel policies and procedural manual that was updated, and The other thing of it was that we actually, Transit had a bad accident here last month. And apparently we own the Transit bus, but I won't get the name right. Used to be at Clear Lake. It's the handicap thing at Clear Lake. What do they call it?
One Vision.
Oh,
Yeah. It was one of their drivers anyway. And apparently it was in the afternoon, about 3:30. It was a cloudy day. It had just snowed. The car that our driver pulled, or the driver pulled out in front of, it was a gray car. Headlights weren't on. In any event, it was our fault. Apparently the individual had very serious medical issues, and probably is not going to ever be able, it's a 19-year-old person yet, the lady, that's the sad part, probably will never see again, it's severed, and may never even speak again. And so we're looking at some serious money here. And I'm not going to go into any further details right now, but just to give you a heads up that we spent a lot of time discussing that. And we also had election of officers there at NICOG. I was re-elected as the vice chair for this year. And so that was my 3 meetings.
all right. Manure management, Laura.
Okay, Huffco, Evenson Site, 4010, Highway 9, Riceville. Cooper Cattle, 1984 10th Street, Osage. Cooper Hog Site 2, LLC, 2069, Highway 218, Osage. And Underwood Finisher Farm, 3050 340th Street, Orchard.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any public comments before we go on to canvass our votes for the NIAC special election? Yes, Mike.
I just have a question on that Damaris property. Was there a dollar amount? I didn't hear it, or maybe it wasn't stated.
Oh, and I
For
only
that.
have, I think, with me the Schultz one. I don't have the Damaris one.
See, so it was approved without a dollar amount? That's-
Yeah, I don't know offhand what it is. I don't have
Really?
that with me. But we can slip over afterwards to
Yeah.
Tony's office and,
Tony would
You
give
get
you
that
that
from him.
information.
yeah.
I know you approved it, but I didn't hear the dollar amounts. So I thought
Yeah,
Should be a dollar
well,
bill.
and I guess I didn't notice that because I knew about it from
Oh,
a
you-
different meeting.
oh, yeah. How much money is allocated for stuff like that?
As far as for individual person,
Well, in total, for everybody?
well, there's a, $1 million that we did in
$1 million.
TIF, actually 2 million.
I understand.
But there's a limit, there's a dollar amount per person.
Yeah, per person.
Right.
What is that?
Depending,
Stan?
it's how many bedroom and,
20,000 for 1 bedroom, 25,000 for 2 bedroom, and 30,000 for 3 bedroom, or more. I mean, if there's 4 bedroom, it's still 30,000.
right.
That's the incentive again is to try to get.
All the projects.
Yeah, they still have quite a bit left in there.
Yeah, I don't think, and I could be wrong, but I think that this might have just finished up that first million that they still have the second
It's
million.
probably, it's gotta be close,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, they still have quite a bit left. Okay,
I do
well,
have one.
yes,
Sunday, in the Sunday paper, the Globe Gazette, they had a progressive section. Actually, they had 4 sections. And,
oh, was that in this time?
yeah, and section H, meaning after G, section H, I don't always speak real well. That pretty much concentrated on Mitchell County, and Shelley had a real nice article in there. Tony had a good article. The superintendent of Osage Schools done a very good job, and and I was in there too, so,
Okay, I'll have to try to get hold of that.
yeah.
It was very good. The hospital, I looked because they had a full-page ad on the back of that, plus Shelley's, and I think there were 3 things that the hospital had in there. Yeah.
Cool.
And you had a nice article, Stan, and so did the school, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
You don't happen to have a copy of it?
That was the one that they were supposed to be dropping off the extras, and I don't know if they've, so far, I haven't seen
If they-
anything.
Yeah, if they do, I'd like to peek at it, yeah.
Because
Great.
that would be a good selling tool again for,
Yeah, should be handed right over to
and
economic development.
was the Press News gonna be running that too,
It should be in the press news. It's gonna be in all 3 papers.
or? Okay,
It's gonna be in
Oh,
Port City
good.
too.
so that should maybe be in today then, the Press
Okay.
News.
Maybe I'll see it then.
Section H.
Wonderful, I got that
But
written,
maybe
I
they'll
got it
change,
down.
they might change that though, but I mean, that was in the Sunday Globe.
Yeah, okay. All right, do you want us to come over there, Lowell, to canvass the?
Yeah, please.
Can I make a flash run?
Sure. All right. Well, I might miss out, guys.
No, hold it, Steve.